Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you guys so much for joining me here for our Day 2 Steelers Training Camp Practice Report. Practice did end a little bit early today due to storms that were coming in, but it really wasn't that much of practice that was missed. It was 10, maybe 15 minutes left in practice, maybe one more team period. So we did get a good amount of football today, and we did have more to take away after training camp practice today. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to be doing these practice reports every single day during Steelers training camp this year. So without further ado, let's jump into the news of the day, and we can start with the signing that the Steelers made today at safety. They brought in veteran safety Chuck Clark, who has been in the league for 7 years. He did tear his ACL in 2023, his first year with the New York Jets. Actually, his Jets tenure was the exact same length as Aaron Rodgers, where he had a season-ending injury in 2023, and then he played in 2024, but didn't play all that well. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Had a chance to take a look at some of his film on the way back to the hotel, but very similar kind of path, in terms of his journey in New York to Aaron Rodgers, where they're both there for 2 years. They're both injured that first year, and then they disappoint in the second year of their Jets tenure. So he's somebody that Rodgers will know, and he'll be a friendly face to him now that he's in the building. But last year was not a good year for Chuck Clark on film, guys. I watched, I think it was 3 games on film for him on the way back to the hotel. It's about an hour and a half drive from Latrobe back to our hotel here in Pittsburgh, especially with the Pirates game happening so close to our hotel. So I got a chance to really dive into some Chuck Clark film, and I wasn't able to watch that film at practice, obviously, because I was sitting in my chair. I was watching practice. But then on the way home, I was like, oh my goodness, man, this is not the same Chuck Clark that I'm used to seeing on the Baltimore Ravens. Before that ACL injury, Chuck Clark was a very, very good safety in the league that could keep the lid on top of a defense. He could also play in the box. He's played a lot of free safety and strong safety, and he has a ton of reps at both of those spots. He was a green dot for the Baltimore Ravens for many years, so he knows what AFC North football is all about. And Mike Tomlin said after practice today that the reason why they brought him in is because he was highly recommended in terms of his football character. I don't necessarily doubt that Chuck is a hard worker, that he's a fantastic teammate, and he's going to be bringing a lot of hard work to Latrobe to try and make this football team. But just plain and simply, guys, last year he was not the same player playing for the New York Jets in 2024 as he was the last time he played a full season with the Baltimore Ravens in 2022. He just didn't look like the same athlete. He was getting cooked in coverage, and even though his run defense and tackling was still okay, it definitely wasn't up to his standard to that point in his career. Like before, when he signed with the Jets in 2023, he was known as one of the best run defending safeties in the National Football League, who was a fantastic tackler, super smart, and he still brings those smarts and that IQ to the table. But last year, it just did not go well for him on film, at least in the 3 games that I watched. I'm probably going to watch more tonight, and if he gets better throughout the season, I'll let you guys know. But it's pretty rough to this point what I've seen from Chuck Clark. So hopefully he can come in here and play well, and hopefully second year off the ACL, he's playing a little bit better. He's running a little bit faster. I do think he's going to slot in as a backup. Now technically there will be a competition between him and Juan Thornhill and kind of Sebastian Castro for that starting free safety spot. But I really think the Steelers like Thornhill. I really like his moxie. I love his confidence. I love the way that he moves out there on the field. Thornhill's done a good job through 2 days at camp. There's not a whole lot of deep opportunities with Thornhill out there at free safety, and he does his job well. And I think the Steelers like him. So I think the Steelers will probably plan on keeping Thornhill at starting free safety with, of course, DeShon Elliott as starting strong safety. And then when it comes to Clark, he's got a ton of experience playing free and strong safety. So if Thornhill or Elliott, God forbid, goes down with an injury, then you got a guy in Clark that you trust can go in there, and he knows what it's all about. So, decent depth addition, I guess, but man, it's tough seeing film like that and knowing that player is on your football team. So it wouldn't shock me at all. I'll say this right now as well, guys. It would not shock me at all if Sebastian Castro, the UDFA out of Iowa, beats out Chuck Clark for that final safety spot on this football team. It really wouldn't shock me at all because they are going to be playing Jaylen Ramsay at safety at times this year, so you're not going to have a heavier safety room. And I think Sebastian Castro, has a chance to outplay Chuck Clark in the preseason this year and in training camp. I really like Castro's game. I think he's a really smart player, and I really liked his film coming out of Iowa this year, and Clark's film from last year, based on what I've seen so far. Definitely doesn't look promising, especially now that he's getting older and he's already coming off an ACL 7 years into his NFL career. So keep your eye on Sebastian Castro throughout training camp and throughout the preseason. He'll be a name to watch for sure. But now let's get into the actual practice report, because today I thought it was a much better day for the offense. We'll get into that. But first, we'll talk a little bit here about Jonnu Smith and his kind of update. Mike Tomlin, after practice today, alluded to the potential for him to start actually practicing during individual periods and team periods, but today it was just warm-ups, and he caught passes from the quarterbacks during the first individual period today, but he did not work with the tight ends. Still not sure what his injury actually is, but Mike Tomlin definitely doesn't seem too concerned about it, and he actually hinted that he might be able to go tomorrow. So it'd be great. My final day at Steelers training camp this year, Jonnu actually gets in on some of that team period action. We see him on the practice field tomorrow. But when it came to the actual practice, like I said, I thought the offense played a lot better today, guys. It was the first 7 shots of training camp. They didn't do it on the first day, but they did do it today. And if you guys don't know what 7 shots is, it's the first 7 plays of team period where they're right at the goal line and the offense has to score a touchdown, or it's a failure and it's the first of 4 wins, offense versus defense. So the first play didn't go too well. It was a bad snap from Zach Frazier, the center. He actually had a snap issue yesterday as well. So something to keep your eye on when it comes to Zach Frazier is he had some snap issues with Justin Fields last year, and now it seems like he's had a couple of snap issues with Aaron Rodgers to start camp as well. So that's something to keep your eye on in terms of Zach Frazier. Not particularly worried about it. I think they're going to figure it out, but he has had a couple of mistakes there to start camp. But then after that, the offense did a pretty decent job. They won 7 shots, 4-3. Aaron Rodgers, I thought every time that he threw the football during that period, he put it right where he wanted it to. Now, there was one incompletion because of a really good PBU, or maybe it wasn't exactly a PBU, but it was a good coverage play by Joey Porter Jr. Rodgers tried to throw a fade to DK Metcalf in the end zone. Rodgers put it on him perfectly, one of the best fade throwers in NFL history, but Metcalf couldn't bring it down. It was good coverage by Joey Porter Jr., but we did see Rodgers get a touchdown pass today to DK Metcalf. Metcalf beat Darius Slay on an out route in the end zone. It was good coverage from Slay, but Rodgers had a really small window to fit it in there, and he did. So really good play there by Rodgers, really encouraging to see that connection, get it going a little bit. And then Rodgers came in for the final play when it was tied 3-3 and threw a touchdown pass to Pat Freiermuth to finish it out on a quick out route in the end zone. So Rodgers looked good during that period today. And of course the offense has to feel good about winning the first 7 shots of the year after yesterday the defense really dominated the whole day. So the first thing that I'll say here, guys, about the offense is that the first team definitely stepped up today. Whether they're running the football, whether they're passing the football, Rodgers and that unit was moving the football. They were completing their passes. Rodgers was getting the ball out fast. When pressure was getting in, he was getting the ball to his outlet options. Rodgers, I thought this was for sure his sharpest day of the first 2 days. Yesterday, there was a couple of poor accuracy misses. He overshot DK Metcalf a couple of times. It just didn't really look like he was settled in. Today, it looked like he had that comfort level back a little bit where he was getting it to his receivers. He was going through his progressions really quickly. He was getting it to the right person, and it was leading to completions. It wasn't any interceptions. It wasn't many sacks today. I think he only got sacked once today. And then that touchdown to DK was really nice. And Rodgers had the longest completion of camp so far, throwing a deep corner route to Calvin Austin III for a big game. Calvin absolutely cooked Joey Porter Jr. on the route. Calvin's looking as good as ever out there running those routes that we've been saying on this channel for weeks. Were there last year, but Justin Fields and Russell Wilson just weren't seeing. So that's really good to see from Calvin. Also, an offensive note that I have here on the running back, Caleb Johnson. He had another really nice run today on the outside. He just runs away from people, man, and he just moves differently for a guy his size. And through the first 2 days, he has been a big-time offensive standout for me, man. It seems like every time he's touching the football, he's picking up a pretty decent game. He had another one today. Now, kind of shifting over to the offensive line again, we talked about Zach Frazier having some snapping issues. Broderick Jones has had some early lapses in pass protection. Now, keep in mind, guys, it's early in camp. The pads are not on. We're not really going to know how good these guys are doing until you put the pads on and it's actual football, right? So we'll see how Broderick does as the days go on, but he gave up another pretty quick pressure on Nick Herbig. Yesterday he had a big viral mishap where he allowed Alex Highsmith to cross his face immediately at the snap, which it's just not what you want to see. You want to see Broderick be more competitive, at those spots, especially because he's going to be this team's starting left tackle this year, and he definitely needs to step it up. But again, it is early. The pads are not on, so not too much to panic about there. Shifting over to the defensive side of the ball, Derek Harmon, the rookie out of Oregon, once again had another pressure today. He probably got the only sack of the day against the first team offense. So Harmon was getting a lot of first-team reps. He was out there first with Cam Heyward. It wasn't Keeanu Benton out there. It was Derek Harmon today getting the first-team reps on defense, and he looked damn good again, man. He has been absolutely fantastic, and there's a reason why this coaching staff is already trusting him with first-team snaps this early into his NFL career, not even into his first preseason game. Another note that I have on defense, guys, is that Jaylen Ramsay is being used as a blitzer quite a bit in the slot. And this is what I've been telling you guys ever since this move happened, all right? This team loved using Mike Hilton as a slot corner blitzing kind of extraordinaire. And Ramsey's bigger, and he's just more talented than Hilton ever was. So this is going to be a huge weapon that the Steelers use in their defense. And frankly, this defense was really at its best and most elite over the last, I would say, 5 years when Mike Hilton was in there as that blitzing slot corner. So I think Ramsey brings a big-time element to this defense that it's been missing for at least a couple of years at this point. And Ramsey looks like he's having an absolute ball out there, and I think that he's very happy with the role that Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin are giving him in this defense, allowing him to be the disruptive type of player that we all know that he's capable of being. And the final thing I want to talk about here when it comes to what I'm noticing from practices is that they are moving the outside linebackers around quite a bit on the defense. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, they're switching up where they're coming in from. Same thing with Nick Herbig. Like, they're switching up where these guys are coming in on. And even TJ Watt is playing a little bit on the interior as well. I've seen them drop TJ into coverage a couple of times on some of these reps as well. They are really making a point for this defensive line to not be predictable this year as it has been in years past. And, Alex has talked about this, TJ's talked about this, that they want to be more multiple, they want to move around, and they have absolutely implemented that to start here in training camp. And Mike Tomlin, my final note here, guys, is that when it comes to the defensive scheme, expect a lot of man coverage, okay? Jaylen Ramsay has been doing a lot of man indicators pre-snap on the plays that I've noticed, where he's following the slot receiver who's shifting to different sides of the formation. That indicates man coverage. And Mike Tomlin did say earlier this week that they want to play a lot of man coverage, and they feel like they can match up against anybody in man. And I love that plan for the Steelers defense, guys, because if you got a defensive line and a pass rush as dangerous as this unit is, especially adding Derek Harmon to DJ Watt, Cam Heyward, Alex Highsmith, Keeanu Benton, all these guys that we know can ball out, you have a good secondary there, and you can pretty much just go out there and say, all right, we're going to go man coverage, try to beat our really good pass coverage players in our secondary before our pass rush gets to you. And with the talent that the Steelers have on defense in the secondary, Darius Slay, Joey Porter Jr., and Jaylen Ramsay, there's not going to be many opportunities, I think, for teams to get the ball out, especially down the field in time for that before that pass rush gets gets to them. So I think that this defense is shaping up to be really, really good this year. It was really promising to see Rodgers play efficient football against that defense today. I'm hoping to see more of that efficiency from Rodgers and the offense tomorrow for my final day at Steelers training camp tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. It was great to meet a lot of you guys out there at Latrobe. A lot of people came up to me and wanted to take pictures and said hi and said a lot of nice words about the channel. So if you're watching this and you came to say hi to me today, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. And then also I'll be there tomorrow. So if you're going to training camp practice tomorrow, I'll probably be posting on Twitter where I'm going to be sitting, so you guys can come say hi to me and Cassie. We love talking with the fellow Yinzers. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already for our practice report tomorrow. And until then, guys, here we go, Steelers.